Good morning. It is Wednesday, January 8th. We have a lot of fun announcements today. Updates from the CES show. We have Steve Greenfield again coming to us. It's not at the hall. He's coming from a different hotel today. We'll find out in a minute. He's everywhere.
You never know where the correspondent's going to end up, you know? Tomorrow he's going to be like, so I'm coming to you from the main stage.
From the top of the sphere.
Top of the sphere. I'm literally standing on top of it.
Hey,
did you see Delta? Well, I don't know if Steve was there. We'll have to ask him about the Delta thing. So.
Yeah. I didn't see anything about it, but I just knew it was happening at the Sphere. We have two big things to talk about today. Number one, we'll talk about this first. Asotocon.com is now fully live. 11:45 last night. Kyle hit the launch button. And if you want your tickets, they are early bird pricing. They are going to be as cheap as they're going to be moving forward. They're going to escalate in pricing, heading up to Asotocon. But now you can log in. You can see some initial information. The site design is just gorgeous. You can get details about the venue, about past things. Just go check it out. It's launched. It's live. A lot of work went into it. Kyle, you spearheaded the effort. Like, bravo. It is it's the best site we've ever launched.
I think it is. Yeah, we went, typically we've really focused on 3 core pages, but we went all the way through it so you can understand what's going on, the venue and the hotels and the we're even going to be launching a menu page at some point. We got things just ready to go, because everybody wants to know when they're not eating conference chicken.
That's right. And if you still have the app on your phone from last year, the app is also updating. And so you'll see the new logo. It's an amazing event app. We think it's the best one of any event we've ever been to. Super high usage rate. So go check it out today. We'll have more information, more speakers, more sponsors, all the things coming very soon. But also want to talk about the fastest growing Asoto property in the history of the world.
Boom.
NADAparties.com. Watching the Google Analytics on this or whatever is so much fun because it's just one big hockey stick.
You're like, oh, I know what people want to do at NADA.
Absolutely. I think next year we're going to be in the listing business. So NADAparties.com, if this is where you're going to find what you're going to be doing every night. And there are actually several breakfast events on there now too.
I saw that.
So this is going to become like the community center for what everybody's doing. If you have a party or an event that you want listed on the site, it is free. So you can just go to the site, list your party, send us the information. We'll make sure it gets up, easy to navigate, lots of fun. We're having a party. Thanks to our friends at Clairvoy for helping make the site possible. We are having our own event. It is sold out, but we do have a wait list. Please get on the wait list because we are confirming attendance the day of.
That's
maybe the day before the day of. So there are going to be spots that open up. We want to make sure that you get one. So make sure you get on the wait list for that. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's bring in Steve Greenfield live from Las Vegas.
Hey,
6:14 a.m. local time. And he's standing in front of what looks to be a very large, very high resolution screen.
Yeah, they're everywhere out here. We were talking earlier. I mean, for some reason this year, the trend seems to be these translucent televisions. So coming soon to a retailer near you, you're going to be able to see through your television. I don't know what the perk is, but people seem to be fascinated with this technology.
What?
Translucent.
Why?
I have no idea. We were trying to figure that out early. Why would anyone want a TV that when you turn it off looks like a window pane?
Yeah, because it is. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I guess that there's a retail solution.
Because you live in a basement. Maybe you live in a basement.
Maybe, yeah, you live in a basement.
You live in a basement, retail. I don't know. Yeah, who knows?
Well, tell us this. We have a few pieces of news coming out of CES yesterday. Where are you right now? You're not in the main hall.
No. So as I said yesterday morning, for those that were on, CES is so large, like 140,000 people, that it spills over from the convention center. It takes all the footprint in the convention center and then spills over into other hotels. So I'm in the Venetian today on the Strip, and here in this hotel, they've got all the startups. So for me, it's good, like rich, fertile hunting ground from an investment standpoint. But the interesting thing here is, it's overwhelming. Many countries bring a bunch of their startups in. So you can walk around the floor here in the basement of the Venetian and see, whether it's, Germany or France or, Korea or whatever, startups from around the globe. So I'm really excited today to spend some time walking the floor and see these very, very small early stage startups from all over the globe.
Wow, that just seems like an unbelievable experience. I'm getting more and more jealous.
So jealous. Absolutely.
It's just the way it is. Let's talk about a couple of things that launched in the automotive sphere yesterday. Sony Honda Mobility is the latest brand to bypass the dealership networks. Now we know for sure to sell its first electric sedan. The Afeela One will be sold exclusively online, allowing customers to handle everything from reservations to purchases through the brand's website. They priced it, starting price $89,000 for the Origin trim, $102,900 for the Signature trim. They have 40 sensors, AI integration, Qualcomm's advanced semiconductor tech. They're building the screen technology on Unreal Engine, which is a gaming engine built originally for Fortnite. California will be the launch market. Reservations are actually open right now. They're going to have what they're calling a studio, one in Torrance and Fremont. So they're going to have 2 physical locations, Northern and Southern California, as like an interaction point. However, the vehicles will be assembled in the Honda factory in Ohio,
Wow.
which has some dealers being like, hold on a second.
Wait a second.
Wait a minute. So now it's taking up manufacturing capability, and we don't get to sell them. So, there's a little bit of talk going around that. Steve, have you seen this car?
I did. I went over there yesterday. It looks like the same car we saw like 2 years ago. And, once again, bad timing, like right before NADA again, to drop this on the dealers. And then, the dealer council call or meeting at NADA is going to be consumed by this one topic. So
it's
I can
over.
tell you this.
Yeah.
If I had to bet, this car will be such a turd. Like you heard it here first. The car, like 2 years ago, it looked kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Now compared to the other cars that are on the street, I mean, it's just not a competitive car. And it looks the same. I mean, this is the same car we saw 2 years ago. So I can tell you this thing, they may get reservations if it's like $100 or something, and then people will opt out. But this car is going to be such a colossal turd that, I mean, the in-cabin experience
I love this.
The in-cabin experience would have to be so great that for some reason people are convinced to buy this car, despite the fact it's like the most unappetizing design I've ever seen. It's like a blob. It's like there's nothing exciting about this car.
It's a blob. It's a blob, and they put like 3 little dots right on the top of it because of like where the camera positioning is and the sensor positioning is. So it's like these weird little bug eyes sitting on the top of this kind of blah, like, just kind of. It's all, honestly. The one thing that I thought when I thought of this was like, oh, this is every kid's 5th grade, car curve.
Oh, this is what they draw. It's actually
like,
the car curve that is like 20% of logos in the auto industry out there. It's that exact one. Well, I'm just thinking right now what the prompt is going to be to generate the image for this lead story, right? Generate me an image of a colossal turd on wheels. Right?
Well, I can tell you, to the dealers that are tuning in, before you get in an uproar and worry about this, go see the car, because I do think you're going to be like maybe 6-9 months from now reveling in the fact that nobody's going to want this thing.
Yeah. Well, I think because I mean. You've seen so
and
much
for $100
grand. For $100,000. The increase in screens and things inside vehicles. A lot of people are calling for physical buttons. Like, even if the in-car experience is like, I can't imagine it being so good that it's more than a parlor trick. Like, that's cool. And after seeing it once or twice, you're like, okay, I want a car.
Well, even just why put a screen on the outside of the car to let you know, hello, have a nice day, right?
Because it made the front page of like Wall Street Journal.
It made the front page, and that's the novelty of it. That's about it.
We found a use case for translucent TVs.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, Ben Hadley weighed in the comments, and he said window displays.
Right, there you go.
That's like he's like duh.
Yeah.
But he also mimics your. He also commented absolute turd as well. So we'll put that on the screen.
Tough car to sell.
You did. There's another Honda vehicle that's turning some heads. The Saloon.
Ah, yeah. So I mean, we saw a year ago they came out with these Zero vehicles, these 2 concept cars. Well, now I think we're like a year and a half from actual production in Ohio as well, probably in the same plant as the Afeela. But I gotta say, these cars are like really sexy.
Put the picture of the Saloon up. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Saloon looks great. Well, I go back to like the Lamborghini Countach.
Yeah, it does.
And the front of it looks like a Countach, and even the back of it looks a bit. So good for them. I mean, I think for Honda, this is like really progressive. Honda, to my mind, has never really been known for like really progressive styling.
Yeah, it looks like a supercar.
If this thing comes out, in this design, they might actually do really well, because the quality of Honda, you get the retail network. and you get an EV that like is sexy. So I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing this one.
Watch
So I
this
love-
all be a play to like just prove that like businesses like Sony and Apple can't actually get in manufacturing. They're like, look what we did to Sony over here, and they're meanwhile they're like the saloon.
Yeah, maybe after seeing this episode, dealers are like, you know what? Maybe we'll let them have their failure. Right, let's talk about meaningful things at the. Oh, okay. Here's some other news. We have a couple mobility stories because we have you. Uber and Lyft are embracing this driverless future by adapting their platforms and infrastructure to integrate autonomous vehicle companies like Waymo and May Mobility. So basically, they are starting to build build features into their apps now to control driverless taxis, like being able to adjust car temperature, honk horns, open trunks remotely. So they're basically Uber and will offer now Waymo rides in Austin and Atlanta, while Lyft plans to deploy May Mobility's autonomous taxis in Atlanta, both looking to capitalize on partnerships. And originally, we know they were talking about going in on their own. But despite growing demand, Uber CEO, he estimates that it may take a decade before half of Uber's trips are in autonomous cars, but they're rolling that out. Do you have any insight on this?
Yeah, I mean, I had my presentation yesterday morning on the future of mobility and talked a lot about autonomy. So I think a couple of things, right? So looking at Uber, Uber incurred $31.5 billion in losses over 10 years for its first 10 years. And I think Uber's whole business model was predicated on full autonomy.
Right.
If you can get
owning the fleet, right?
Because 7 years ago, that was all the talk.
Or 10 years ago, right? Really, when Uber started, we were on the cusp of autonomy, and it's taken us this long to really get traction. So McKinsey has a white paper a month ago, I think it was in December, where they looked at current cost per mile for full autonomy, and then what projected will be in 10 years, in 2035. And I get the slide. I'll send this slide over to you guys. But it's $8.13 per mile right now.
Wow.
For Waymo, that's what they're incurring, right? So far greater than what Uber is. But they forecast at scale, as this thing gets network effects and you get more volume, it's going to go down to like $1.13, I think it is, within 10 years. So it won't be long before we're looking at the cost per mile as being cheaper. And then suddenly, we could see a huge flip. Uber, Lyft, any of these folks are going to be like very highly incented to switch over to autonomous. And I don't know what's going to happen to all these drivers, but the driver, if you have a human driver, you're going to be paying more per mile. So there'll be an incentive for you to summon the autonomous car.
Yeah. I wonder if we're going to see like this middle ground where you start to have humans like maintaining, little mini fleets of autonomous cars to care for them. And
watch this basically become the bird scooter, right? Like,
right.
Go make sure the cars are good at night. They're all plugged, they're plugged in.
Cleaning is a big
thing,
deal with
right?
this kind of, right? Cleaning and monitoring is a big deal with this,
exactly.
which puts Tesla in an interesting position because they can also make the cars. And I think like if they're making the autonomous vehicles and they own the fleet, I mean, the easier part is the app, right. And the app system.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked for a while about how EVs and autonomy come first in the commercial world, right? And whether that be commercial trucking or commercial taxi or even just like, commercial fleet purchasing, that's going to be where you can adopt this quicker because you can set up, charging bays and banks and just like have the people that can manage that type of, throughput. So I again agree with Steve that this is definitely going to be, if we see autonomy take a wide or a big jump quickly, this is a good spot to look out for it.
Hey, my detailing experience is like starting to feel tingly. Like this is the time to build a commercial detailing business that can handle a fleet and a lot and all that good stuff. But speaking of electronic vehicles, Kyle, this is all you.
I have no video, but we'll figure it out as we go along for those watching. The year 2025 is set to mark a turning point for electric vehicles. The data is pointing to 1 in 4 vehicles being sold in 2025, projecting to be electrified in some manner, with pure EVs making up 10% of new car sales, an increase from 7.5% in 2024. It's projected that 15 new EV models will be launching this year. And then the forecast is to hit 20.1 million units, the highest since 2021. Jonathan Smoke, good friend of all of ours, said economic fundamentals are improving and customer sentiment is pointing in the right direction, which will obviously help the EV transition.
So Steve, you're on this one, 1 and 4.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a cop-out, right? Because it includes plug-in hybrids and mild non-plug-in hybrids. You know, that the actual EV number is not increasing too much. And, you know, what we don't know is if Trump does do away with the consumer-facing tax incentives, something like 70% of all EV sales right now are being leased because of the tax loophole. If that incentive goes away, I don't know that I think that we're going to, you know, hit these numbers, but good for them. And I think, you know, from a dealer, you know, if you remember, we rewind the clock a few years, there was a big concern that an EV was going to have much longer service intervals. So dealers started selling EVs. They weren't going to see these cars for service. Well, the good thing, think about hybrids, which are the breakthrough technology here, is like you have twice the complexity. So things can go wrong with the battery and things can go wrong with the gasoline drivetrain as well.
And how they all come together, right? Guaranteed.
The good thing is dealers will be as busy, if not busier than ever, given the complexity of a dual drivetrain. So the dealers should be very happy. Sell more hybrids. It's going to feed your fixed ops, and you know, don't worry about pure EVs, because I think with the tax incentives potentially going away, there'll be very little demand for like pure BEVs with no tax incentives.
Well, and I also think, you know, looking at the service intervals, you also are, you know, the training ground and the access to the technology in the third parties is still not, you know, wide scale. And so customers are going to be continually forced to come back to the dealer, especially as the OEMs have not really moved a lot of that technology into the third parties or aftermarket stuff being available for it. So that's why you continually get that business over the next at least 2 to 3 years.
It's almost like you watched my presentation yesterday morning. So I got the slide. We get data from one of our companies, WarCloud, that shows that, you know, on average, 70% of the time, consumers defect and go to independent repair shops at the end of the warranty period, which is typically like 3 years. And to your point, Kyle, I totally agree with you. With car complexity, the technician skill needed to work on these cars, and the unique tools that are going to be needed for each brand, I mean, it's really going to squeeze, despite, you know, there'll be right to repair acts that allow independent repair shops to get the schematic and telematics data from the cars. But I think franchise dealers are going to be busier than ever in their fixed operations, because, you know, consumers, to your point, are going to have to be loyal to their franchise dealers to get these things serviced even after the warranty period's up.
Yeah, that's right. Ben Headley, interesting comment. For what it's worth, he says, my Rivian air suspension broke, so now I have to drive it down to Boston on Friday since it's the closest service station.
Boston is like 3.5 hours away from Ben.
It is
like
not
just
close.
as a note.
So he has to drive it down with a broken suspension. That's fantastic.
Oh, boy.
Steve, how did your presentation go? We didn't ask you at the beginning of the show. We're going to ask you at the end.
No, great. So this was a bit different, you know, as I mentioned yesterday morning, this was Mobility 2050 and trying to forecast out, you know, all the different aspects of mobility. So I spent an hour on stage yesterday, had about 350 people in the audience. And listen, I'm just really impressed with CES. I mean, they've got 140,000 people from across the globe. I think 40% of those people are coming in internationally. So it's a good eclectic mix, great questions at the end, great for networking, et cetera. And, you know, one of the reasons that CES rebranded from the Consumer Electronics Show to CES is because of automotive's impact here. So with every year, we see more automotive OEMs revealing product launches and technologies, as we've talked about today. So this is increasingly becoming sort of an automotive centric and mobility centric conference, and always very impressive. It's just overwhelming, and you get your steps in.
Yeah,
let's go. Get your steps in.
We'll rebrand the E to electrification. It's the Consumer Electrification Show.
Nice. There you go.
Steve, thank you so much for joining us today. We'll check in again. We'll be paying attention to your social media. Thank you. But I think the biggest takeaway from this show is your prediction that the Afeela will be a, quote, colossal turd.